this Kansas City. Shit's ran gritty. In the summertime, the chicks be damn pretty. Born in the projects, then to the Ville.
Hey you guys, it's me Bossy. Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another story time video, and a lot of people have been wanting me to do more story times that aren't as, oh girl, are you serious? What? They wanted me to do more that involve my family and things like that, and a lot have been asking for me to do another kind of pregnancy-ish type of story time. So I decided to do a story time about the time I found out I was pregnant with my fourth child, and how Terrence reacted to it, being that it would have been his very first child. So a lot of you guys still get confused, so I'm gonna say this now. I have 3 daughters that are all by Bob. All 3 of my daughters are by Bob, and I got into a new relationship, and I have 2 sons that are by my current boyfriend, hopefully soon to be husband, Terrence. So now that I got that out the way, let me go ahead and get into this story. This happened in 2010. Terrence and I had officially became a couple, and we had already been talking since about 09, but we were just, you know, messing around, kind of friends with benefits. And then eventually, you know, feelings got involved, which I have a story time about that that's already on my channel. And we end up becoming a couple. But we'd only been a couple by this time for about maybe 2 months. This particular day, I had just gotten off work. It was on a Friday. And I know that I had been feeling a little funny lately. And when a girl has been pregnant, and as many times as me, especially the first 2 times I was pregnant, I kind of know when something is not right. For a few days, I had been feeling a little off. I was feeling more tired, kind of irritated more. And my period wasn't too late, but it was a little late. So, but then I was like, well, maybe, you know, I'm just worrying too much. It'll come. But it didn't come. So my good friend, one of my best friends, Ebony, she was at my house. She was going to keep the girls while I went over to Terrence's house, because he said he had something set up really special for me. Like, he is so sweet, y'all. But he said he had something really special set up for me. So before I even attempted to go to his house, my friend Ebony told me that I needed to take a test, because she said, based on how I'm feeling and how I'm acting, she thinks I'm pregnant. I'm like, girl, I am not pregnant. Not pregnant. This girl was on birth control. I was not pregnant. But I'm going to tell y'all what happened with that birth control situation. I took the test in my restroom before I went to take my shower and get ready to go to Terrence's house. And when I took it, the line was like, you know, you have the regular line and the other line if you're pregnant. And it was there but not there. It was really faint. I felt like I was making myself kind of see it, but I mean, it was there but it wasn't. And I'm just like, I mean, I don't know. I told her I'll take another one, but I'm not doing it tonight. I'm about to go to my man's house and see what my man is trying to do, where we going or whatever, because he sounded like he was really excited and wanted me to come over. So I get ready or whatever, and I drive all the way to his house. And when I get to his house, well, his apartment, he lived in an apartment. When I get to his apartment, you know, I'm walking up the stairs. I hear music. I get to his door and I knock, and he was like, hold on just a minute. I can remember this, y'all. He's like, hold on just a minute. So when he opens the door, he has this big cheese on his face, and he has roses in his hand. He has roses in his hand, like a big bouquet of roses. And I was just cheesing. And when I went to grab them, it was thorns still on the little thorns still on the rose. So I kind of pricked my finger, but I played it off and didn't want him to know I hurt myself. But when I walked in the apartment, it was dark. He had candles lit. He had, the music was coming from his huge screen TV, and so that it wouldn't look too bright from the television, he had a black blanket covering the TV, but you could still hear the music, of course. He just didn't want the TV, you know, playing. So when I walked in there, y'all, it was so romantic. Like, it was dark with the candles, and he had called me earlier that day and asked me what I wanted to drink, and I told him, what was it? It wasn't no Grey Goose. I think it was, what's that P. Diddy drink? I can't remember the name of the drink. I'll probably try to insert a picture of the drink. But he asked what I wanted to drink, and he got it. When I walked in there, he had it on the table. It just was so nice, y'all. Y'all don't understand. Like, it was really nice. And so I get in there and I sit down, and he's bringing the plates to the table. He made this like chicken and shrimp Alfredo dish. I remember it was so good, like so good. And he had my alcoholic beverage and some Minute Maid, like fruit punch, I think, and he mixed that in with my drink because I don't like really drink liquor straight like that. Well, I didn't back then. Stuff didn't change. We're sitting there, and in the back of my head, I'm thinking about that pregnancy test, what it said, and how I had been feeling lately. So I'm gonna let y'all know some stuff before I get to more of the interesting part of the story. So, like I said, Terrence and I didn't have sex unprotected very often. And I was on the birth control pill. But, I had told Terrence one particular night that we were about to do the do that I didn't have my pills for about, I think it was maybe 2 or 3 days. I didn't have my pills because for whatever reason, something happened. I don't know if it was with my insurance. I don't know what it was, but something happened. I can't really remember, but I didn't have my pills, and I told him that. And this particular day, I'm thinking it was the day that we might have done it without a condom. So, but still, I'm thinking, you know, I took my birth control faithfully, and even though I wasn't on it for those 3 days, I was thinking, and I told him and made him aware of this, so y'all won't be like, girl, you tried to trap him. No, I made it very aware. I kept telling him, and he kept ignoring me. So hey, it went down. So I'm thinking that particular day is the day that we conceived our son. But anyway, back to the little romantic story. So we're sitting there, and I'm eating my food, and he asking me like, why wasn't I really like sipping on my drink? And I would sip it a little, but in the back of my head, I'm thinking, y'all, I know it's so bad to say, I'm thinking, I think I might be pregnant, but I'm not all the way sure. Yeah, the test had a very faint line, and more than likely I'm pregnant. So I think I took maybe 2 or 3 sips of my beverage. And I kept eating my food, and the mood was so nice, y'all. It was so beautiful. And then all of a sudden I told him I had to put my food down because I was not going to be able to focus on this romantic night with the fact that I was possibly pregnant. So that test that I took at the house, it had 2 tests in it. So, you know, I took the one, and the other one I had put in my purse when I left to go to his house. Because my plan was to kind of tell him either that night or the next morning. I'm sitting there and I'm like, I gotta tell you something. And he was like, what's up? And I was like, well, I can remember this so good, y'all. I was like, well, I took a pregnancy test. He was like, you took a pregnancy test? I was like, yeah. And I think it came out positive. I think I might be pregnant. And he was like, what? And he was like, nah. And I was like, I think I might be. So I was like, and I heard him say, I have another one. If you want, because I have to pee now, I will take the test. And he was like, okay. He was like ready. Because this man I want to say he was about 28 years old. And he had no children. He had long-term relationships before, but he had no children. So I went in the restroom and I peed on the stick and I waited and I looked at it and it had that second line on there. It still wasn't really strong, but it was on there. So I came out and I was shaking, y'all. Like my voice was trembling. Like I was shaking. I was so nervous and scared because I didn't want to have another baby. But I mean, I know I was doing stuff that can result to pregnancy, but damn, I was just like, oh. And I didn't know how he was going to feel because he didn't have kids. We never talked about really having kids. We weren't planning on having kids right away anyway at all. I came out and I showed him and I just shook my head and he was like, what? And I was like, here. And I gave him the test and he acted like he didn't want to hold it. I'm thinking, boy, you ain't gonna touch the pee part. I got the cap on it. And he looked at it and he like just dropped his head. So I'm thinking, oh my God, he's pissed. He dropped his head and he's just shaking his head. And he was like, we're going to the store and get another test now. He was like, you need to drink a whole bunch of something. He was like, because we're going to go get some different tests. So I'm up there just trying to drink some of the fruit punch, just drinking it. And we go to Walmart. He had a Walmart up the street from his apartment. And so he goes in there. He gets 2 different tests. He gets the digital test and he gets a more expensive test than what I had. First, I go and take the digital test. And when I went to go in the restroom and take this digital test, he stood at the door to watch me. I was starting to think like he thought I was lying or switching stuff. I don't know what he thought, but he wanted to literally watch me pee on the stick, which I didn't have no problem. I had been in the restroom with him plenty of times and he had been in the restroom with me plenty of times. But you know, I did my business, peed on the stick, put the cap on, and just waited. He just stood there and was looking at me in the doorway of the restroom. And we waited and waited, and I looked at the test and my heart sank. It said pregnant, and I handed him the test and was just like, here. And he was just like, oh my God. I thought he was so upset, y'all. Just how his reaction was. It didn't seem like a joyous occasion, which I wasn't even joyous. And so finally we went back into his dining area and he sat down and he was like, you pregnant? And I'm like, well, obviously. And you know, I felt like crying. I'm like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. What the? So he's just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm gonna have a baby. He started to show excitement. And so then I was starting to be like, okay, he's excited. So he started to show excitement and he still denies it to this day. And yes, Terrence Frazier, I'm putting this in the story because it is true. He started wiping his eyes and I'm like, I know this nigga ain't crying. And he wasn't like boo-hooing, but I seen the twinkle in his eye and the wetness in his eyes. And he was just like, oh man, I'm gonna be a daddy? You pregnant? I'm gonna be a daddy? But the rest of that night, it still went off good, you know. Hell, I was already knocked up, so we did the do. And it was candles out in the bedroom. It was so sweet and so nice and just real romantic like. So then, of course, 9 months later, I welcome a baby boy. Now, I'm going to also throw in the birth of my son. Basically, 9 months later, I was scheduled to have a C-section. The reason I had to have a C-section, you guys, is because my son, and I had never had a C-section before. My 3 girls, they were all pretty normal sized baby due to the fact that he was very large. I had never been that big during any of my pregnancies. I'll even insert a picture of me at 6 months pregnant, and this is no lie, this is me at 6 months pregnant. I was in labor forever, and it's like he was just not doing anything to my cervix at all, y'all. Like, they said it was thinning out, and then they would check it again and they were like, oh no, it's not, it's still pretty thick. And I'm thinking, what the hell? I've never been in, besides my first child, that's my first pregnancy, I was in labor for a good long minute. But them last two, I wasn't in labor that long. And then this one, it was just like torture. I was in labor forever. You know, I had my epidural and all that mess, but like it was just killing me, y'all. Like I was in labor forever. And then my mucus plug fell out. If y'all don't know what that is, look it up. I'm not gonna explain it. It's kind of nasty. But my mucus plug fell out. And so then I'm thinking, oh, he's coming. He's gonna come. He's gonna come. And y'all, I was in still for another 3 hours. And eventually my doctor, she was just like, you know what? He's not coming down. His heart rate is dropping very much so. And he's a big baby. So we are going to do an emergency C-section because I was exhausted. Hell, Terrence looked exhausted. We was just ready for this baby to come. And so I ended up having to have an emergency C-section. They, you know, went and took Terrence, put him on his scrubs or whatever. And once I got into the operating room and they were getting me all ready before they called Terrence in, his heart rate dropped even more. Like it was just like boom, boom. Like it wasn't a regular rapid heartbeat. It was so slow, and I was so scared because I'm like, my baby is not about to live. Like I had never heard a heartbeat that slow in my life. Like it was so slow. So next thing you know, people get to scattering. It felt like it was chaos going on in there. When I got in the operating room, they, you know, got me all prepped and set up. And next thing you know, I laid down. They was listening to his heartbeat. It was so slow. It was so scary. And all I remember feeling is like kind of tugging and pulling. And I'm thinking, where's Terrence? Y'all need to get my boyfriend. Can y'all please get my boyfriend? Like I'm thinking, first off, this is his first child. I can't even have a vaginal delivery like I had always had and had been comfortable with because of this big ass baby in my belly that didn't want to come down. And it was just like, y'all need to get him. Like this is his first child. He needs to see him be brought into this world. Like please go get him. And they were like, honey, we have to get this baby out. And next thing you know, my baby was out so fast. It was so fast. It was so fast, y'all. And I'm trying to look and see, and all I hear is, oh my God, he's huge. And when I looked over on the, what is that, the incubator thing or whatever you call it, that baby looked like all of 2 to 3 months. He was so big and hairy. Oh my God, my son was such a big baby. He was so cute. He couldn't even barely fit the hospital diapers. He was so damn big. He was born weighing 10 pounds even, and he was 22 inches long. His daddy's a tall dude, so I knew he was probably going to be long, but they didn't think he was going to be 10 pounds. So he was 10 pounds at birth. They got him together. Once they got him out, they finally called Terrence in. Terrence was really upset, I could tell, because he wanted to be in there. But it didn't happen that way. I was pissed. But it didn't happen that way because an emergency arose and they had to get the baby out. So you have to do what you got to do. And yeah, but when he came in, he saw him. They wrapped him up, cleaned him up, wrapped him up, gave him to Terrence. And Terrence was kind of, you know, shedding some tears. Ain't nothing with a man shedding tears over his child or his woman.
Mama, I found this in your room.
Where'd you find it?
In your room.
Where at?
On the floor.
Really?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What is it for?
My videos. So yeah, he got his son. He got a junior, and that was his first child, and it was so sweet and emotional. And I had the shakes like a mug. Like I was so cold, I thought, and I was just shaking like a crackhead, like shaking. I don't know why. My body wouldn't stop shaking. But yeah, I had my son, and that's everything that happened leading up to the birth of my oldest baby boy that I love so much, and that is his daddy's twin. That is his daddy's twin. And the last baby boy, that's my twin. We got a chocolate and we got a vanilla. Just like me and Terrence. Chocolate, vanilla, you know. That's how he found out I was pregnant, and that is the delivery of my oldest son as well. So I hope you enjoyed this story, And make sure to comment, rate, and subscribe. And I will see you in my next one. Bye, loves.